Yo, coming to you live from World Championship in San Jose. Welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
At the base level, doesn't matter what the Quiver does. At the base level, Rangers now have an extra equipment slot that no other class has. You have +1 equipment slot for free that no other class has. And people are like,
it's not even like there's a downside.
But it costs 3 to activate. So is it really? You have an extra equipment slot. What are you talking about?
Thing. Yeah, exactly.
So of course they're not going to make it overpowered. They're not going to give you an extra equipment slot and make it busted. Like, that's a good way to break the game. Like,
this is the only Quiver that we've seen so far.
Yeah. I think the Quiver's all right. I don't think it's like super good, but I mean, like, it's an auto include in like every Ranger deck because it's literally free. Other than like taking up, like, the opportunity cost is that it takes up a slot in your deck, right? It takes up a slot in your CC deck, or it takes up an equipment slot or whatever. But like, it takes up like 1 sideboard slot to have an onboard effect for every single game that actually shores up some of Rangers' like weaknesses, because it actually makes like 3 of a kind hands better, right? If you whiff on 3 of a kind, at least you can use this. Also, this card isn't destroyed if you whiff, so you can keep using it. Like, if you read it, there's a break between the first effect and the second effect. So like, it only gets destroyed if you put the card into the arsenal. So like, and on turn 1, you can actually yeet your entire hand to this if you want to.
You can now mulligan.
Yeah.
It's like with the Mechanologist. Now Rangers can also just mulligan their hands.
Yeah. Maybe this will be the rant, and I'll leave it in. I'll leave it in. Because
I was going to say, are we recording right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been recording for like 13
fantastic.
like 13 minutes or something.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I believe I'm the host today, so welcome to another episode of the Living Legends podcast. Oh, Kel's getting started with the A&W root beer.
Apologies to all Japanese listeners out there. Apparently, root beer does not go well with the Japanese palate. So
I've heard that. Yeah. Before we even get into talking about Flesh and Blood, I do want to say that apparently it is reminiscent of a very popular medicine. I could be incorrect, but that's what I've heard. So, we say, oh, that tastes medicinal or whatever. Apparently they have something that is a medicine that just tastes like root beer, which would be why. And I would totally get that.
I could see that. I think Dr. Pepper kind of tastes like medicine too.
I love Dr. Pepper. It's the sweetest medicine.
Well. If you are from Japan, let us know in the comments down below. Actually, you know what? No matter where you're from, let us know where you are down below. You don't have to dox yourself. You can just be generic, but
Yeah, first of all, let us know where you are. And second of all, what do you think of root beer? That's a talking point. That gets the engagement.
What's your favorite drink? Exactly. What's your favorite sort of fizzy can-based drink that Kel's drinking now?
I don't drink it all the time, but like, I just kind of felt like some root beer when I was at the store the other day, and I was like, let's get some root beer, man.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. But anyway, welcome officially to the Living Legends podcast. This is your one-stop shop for everything Flesh and Blood and root beer related. Yep. I'll be your host for today. I am Bill from the Spike Feeders, and joining me as always are my 2 lovely co-hosts, my best friends in all of Flesh and Blood. We have Kel from Red Zone Rogue.
Hello. I've already talked a lot at this point, so I'm just gonna.
You've used up all of your allotted time on root beer.
Yeah, exactly. Root beer and complaining about this Quiver that we'll talk about more. I'll pass over to Az.
I'm Az from Go Again Gaming. Welcome everybody, listeners and viewers, and/or viewers. Yeah, we've got a lot of spicy things to talk about today. A lot of Outsiders spoilers were dropped upon us via the Mid-Max Gaming booth at Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think right off the bat is a good question for me to potentially ask you guys in the chat, as well as people that are listening and viewing this. What do you think of spoilers being sort of spoiled this way? Because it was so random. Like, it's in a folder. The art's there. You have to go and find it.
I thought they were leaks. I'm not even joking. I saw them on Twitter, and they were like these crappy, like, quickly taken photos, and I'm like, they look like leaks. They look like every leak I've ever seen in any card game, because apparently leakers can never take a good picture. They're always like really crappy, like half blurry pictures
on a toaster.
Yeah, it's like these people. This happened a lot with the Magic the Gathering leaks that I remember happening. I mean, they still happen, and I think the next full set got leaked because of just like bad packaging or something. But back in the day, my favorite one that I ever saw was the Ixalan leaks, if anybody remembers those. It may have been Ikoria. It was that sort of block with all the dinosaurs and stuff.
Yeah.
And there was somebody from one of the factories that was producing the cards, like actually printing the cards. Somebody stole an entire sheet, an uncut sheet, somehow smuggled it out of the printing factory, brought it
Just had
home.
it underneath their arm, just just running out to their car.
I have no idea how they did this, but it was careful enough that they were able to get away with it. And then when they went to post the pictures, they were the lowest quality, quickest pictures of all time. It's like, you spent all of this energy, this care, you intended to leak these, you intended to take pictures. You could have just like waited a second for your autofocus to complete its thing. Come on, man.
I want to shout out Smithel for actually taking some good quality pictures. He took the pictures of the Quiver and like art print that he got from Mark Poole that looked really good. I made a quick little video talking about all this stuff, and I shouted out Smithel there too for being the only person to actually pick a decent picture.
Actually have a smartphone. Yeah, everything else is like a flip phone from 1997.
Yeah, it's one of those like original point and shoots with the like chappy, like the crappy cheap plastic, the like gray sort of whatever. But yeah, that's exactly the vibe that I got when I saw these pictures too, because like I saw somebody with just like a binder with artist proofs in it, just holding it up, and it's like, this feels wrong. This doesn't feel like an official like reveal or anything. So
yeah, that's why I thought I'd bring it up, because it's interesting. And shout out to also FAB Canadian, who have now updated their sort of website with all the sort of highest res or enhanced images that they could do. They've done this before, right? Because I spoiled the bow, which was premature, and I had to take a picture of it to really spoil it. And there's only so much you can do. I guess I also had that issue as well, where you try and take a picture of a card. It is quite difficult. So fair play to the people behind February for enhancing images and making them readable. And I'm sure you'll see some of the cards on this stream if you're watching.
I'm pulling all the images from February, and I think some of the images, like we did get some better images later in the day, because I think Min Max posted some images of like the tokens, for example, that are much better quality than like the tokens that were like underneath, like, so they were like in top loaders, like underneath plastic, so it's like all sorts of reflection and just terrible, just like in a sleeve, in a top loader, like it's just bad.
So I think to kick it off, we could talk about our weeks in Flesh and Blood, but I feel like, at least for me, mine is just basically the spoilers. It is me sort of drinking them in and trying to figure out how I feel about each one.
Mine is also spoilers, and then also my Katsu video, which kind of bombed. Please go watch my Katsu video. I spent some time on it. I think the intro is pretty good. And it's a fun deck.
I looked at it earlier, and it's definitely got more since. More views since you originally said, at least.
It's still like a 10 out of 10 for YouTube, so it bombed by my metrics, which is funny because the video that I put out talking about the spoilers is the opposite. It is a 1 out of 10. Like, people's like Pog, and they see like the Katsu, and they're like, man, Katsu, man.
Pog, less Pog.
But I will say quickly, I don't want to dwell too much on this. The people who watched it really liked it, because I got a lot of really good comments and private messages and stuff. Like Chris Bewley actually private messaged me, and he's like, "Oh, I loved your new Katsu video," because he loves Katsu. And he's like, "Oh, I love your new Katsu video. Great job." Blah blah blah. So I think it's just one of those things where maybe it'll do better over time. Maybe I didn't clickbait it hard enough. I tried something new with the thumbnail, and I'm too stubborn to like.
I like the thumbnail, actually.
I think it looks really clean, and I'm too stubborn to change it too much. So I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah, we had a literally a 5 hours conversation after the last podcast about bloody thumbnails and YouTube, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which went into the weeds, but it was fun time. But yeah, I thought it was good. It looked really good.
Yeah, but like I said, the other video about the spoilers and stuff did very well. So let's talk about some spoilers and stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Az, did you have anything that you wanted to mention about your week in Flesh and Blood before we get started?
Oh yeah.
I will. Yeah, I will mention one thing actually. So I essentially I wasn't asked to do this, but I was given access to do it. So basically, I previewed the campaign mode on Felt Table recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
So yeah, I thought that was quite cool. So if you type in Flesh and Blood campaign mode on the first video that comes up, essentially, I put timestamps in there as well, so you can navigate to certain missions or certain sort of side things and features in between the games, like the bazaar area where you can upgrade your deck and take cards out and buy boosters and all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's all timestamped so people can have a look at certain aspects and features of the mode. And as much as I would love to have like a massive, grandiose board game version, I have spoken to the developers, and it's not something they can do right now. But they're probably going to expand and do other scenarios for other characters first, and then see where it goes after that. But I can imagine it takes a lot of time and resources to do that sort of thing. But it was nice to do.
Yeah,
So.
I haven't watched your video yet, but the Felt Table people reached out to me as well, and I hardly check my like the, what do you call them, the requested DMs or whatever. And they were in there, and I was like, oh, they like messaged me like a few days ago, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I just now seeing this. I might check it out. What did you I haven't played it yet. I might look at it. What did you think of it?
I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought it was really, really good. Some of the premises on it were good. And I think it works with Arachne as well, because Arachne gets the currency in the game is silver, right? And Arachne can attack things to get silver, and obviously there's a lot of contracts you get silver and all that sort of thing. I haven't played Arachne either, so it was a nice little delve into it to a certain degree.
Yeah, I played the one on Talishar before, so there's like a really simple roguelite mode on Talishar, and I like easily won in like 10 minutes or whatever. Like I beat the whole thing in like 10 to 15 minutes.
This is obviously publicly going to say it, but this one is so much better than that.
Okay.
Like the Felt Table UI, user interface, and the work gone behind the campaign mode is a lot more than the sort of rogue version that they've put up. So that's what I said. I mean, I said it on the stream as well. I think Talishar is the place to go for, person v person online client. But if you just want to have a nice little chilled, fun time on this, that's where they should probably focus their energy, is this campaign thing. So I think it could be really good. And I had a good time with it. I streamed for about 3 hours, and I did complete the campaign, but I lost on 2 of the missions. So I had to replay mission 3 and mission 4 I died on. But I managed to do the other ones. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I really like it. And hopefully it's like a that's how the PvE thing works, similar to that, because I enjoyed that experience. And I enjoy board game experiences in general, like, co-op, against the system. You get a bunch of mates, and we spoke about this before, but I think it's I think it could be good. So yeah, good fun.
Absolutely. People still comment on my solo Arkham Horror Let's Play, like, even though I uploaded it like 2 to 3 years ago. I got another comment like just the other day. They're like, "Oh, this is really good," and I looked on your channel, and there's nothing else like this, and I'm like, hopefully we can get some.
That stuff.
Hopefully, we can get some stuff like that for Flesh and Blood, like official stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Like, if I can play single player, I'm gonna be playing it a lot. If I can if it's like at all like video friendly, you're gonna see a lot of videos from me about it. Just put it that way.
Yeah, too right.
Yeah.
So. Exactly.
Yeah,
I have lots of ideas.
Really excited for what Flesh and Blood has in store for 2023. I think it's going to be a big year, and it's already, in my opinion, shaping up to be pretty big.
Oh yes.
Let's dive into these new spoilers, these leaks.
I just had just imagine, before we get to these leaks or spoilers, not leaks.
Yeah.
Imagine a video, like a well-edited PvE video where we all sit down dressed up in our classes, like a ranger or whatever, and then we just play like a campaign, kind of like how people do for D&D, right? But for Flesh and Blood, playing the game. Just that's some of the things that I have in mind. So I'm looking forward to it.
So cool.
Well, behind the scenes as well, before we get into the leaks, I mean spoilers, that has also been spoken about again with regards to Dungeons and Dragons and us three being involved still. So that's still going to happen. We have all agreed to it in Living Legends, at least. So that is still going to happen.
I might post about it on Twitter as well to see if we want to get another person or so. We'll talk about this later. I've been thinking about this too. Anyway, not dead. We're still gonna do some cool Flesh and Blood stuff that aren't actually like the game, but ancillary Flesh and Blood things.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. I want to talk about these spoilers because they are really cool. And what we're going to start with, I think, this is like, it makes the most sense to talk about this one first. It also, I think, was the first that was like fully spoiled for us because it's part of, I think, the armory kit for something coming up or something.
I think anyway. Is it for a skirmish season or it's one of the upcoming like LGS things.
Yeah, it's like an LGS promo.
What was the Baltimore thing? Is it the Baltimore package?
Oh, it could be. No, I think you're right. I think it is the
part of the Baltimore Pro Tour.
I think it is the Pro Tour package. Yeah, because the way they market it is really weird. Actually, they called it a foil pack, and it comes with the card that we're going to talk about, and then the cold foil tokens too. I think.
Yeah. So it's just like its own little like handout sort of deal.
Yeah.
So another thing as well. Before we get into it as well, I'll keep doing this. Sorry.
It's okay.
But we're going to read the card out, but this might sort of derail it a bit. But the rarity is a promo. So can we get this in the set or not? Do you think?
Oh, for sure. I'm pretty sure we can get it in the set.
Yeah. You think we can?
I don't think LSS. Well, I think they're smart enough to never print a functionally unique promo only card. That would be awful. Like for players, that would be. Other games do this, and those cards, if they're any good at all, they are worth way, 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 way too much money. Especially in a game like Flesh and Blood that doesn't rotate. So that would be
but actually a shitty Christmas present.
Well, okay. That's not legal in
Tales of Adventure.
That's not legal.
It's
like
not a legal actual card. Yeah. I get what you mean.
Yeah. So like Go Bananas, Shitty Christmas Present, the Rudy Gym Keeper thing, those don't count because they're like you can't actually play with those cards. They're just kind of like silly things that you can play casually.
Yeah, but for something that like ties into a set that they're about to release, it wouldn't make sense. And this card would be ostensibly legal to play.
I think a good question though is what rarity we think this card is. We can talk about that after we talk about the mechanics of the card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So this is a card called Death Touch. And for any Magic the Gathering players out there, it does not have Death Touch. It is called Death Touch.
I wish it did.
So what we've seen thus far, we don't know if this is part of a cycle. They have done these sorts of separated promos. I know that like you can only get the red this week and then the blue this week or whatever, but we've seen the red version. This is an assassin/ranger attack action. So it's the first one that we've seen other than the Codex so far that is a hybrid class card. As I said, this one's red. It costs 1. It has 6 attack and 2 defense. And it reads, Death Touch can't be played from hand. And when this hits a hero, create a Frailty, Inertia, or Bloodpox token under their control. So obviously, interesting thing that this kind of functions as an arrow. In that you can't just play it from your hand, it has to be played from your arsenal.
Well,
also
doesn't have to be played from your arsenal. It just can't be played from your hand.
It can't be played from your hand. As of right now, I don't think there's a way to play it other than out of your arsenal, but there might be, you are correct, there might be other ways to play something technically not from your hand, like being able to play something from your banished zone or graveyard or something.
One of the most interesting parts about this card, in my opinion, is the way it's worded. Yeah, like it just can't be played from hand. And so I immediately started thinking of like, it might not be in this set, but like I can just think of something like a Shadow Ranger or a Shadow Assassin having some ability to play, you know, like once per turn, you can play a attack action from your banished zone, and then you can play this, like something like that. So I think it's super interesting.
That would be very interesting, and that would, like, they're kind of future-proofing themselves for that. But the burning question on everybody's mind right now, because I mentioned Frailty, Inertia, and Bloodpox, and we don't know what any of those are. We do, but we don't know right now. So let me just take you through a quick little journey about what those are. So these are the 3 new tokens that we're getting with this set. They are callbacks, I suppose, or references to the 3 major plagues of Wraith. And they are all actually pretty intriguing. I like these effects. I'm going to start just from left to right here. We have Blood Rot Pox. which is a generic token aura. And the art is absolutely metal. Carlos Cruchaga, big shout out, huge fan of his art personally. It's extremely good. I'm looking forward to getting an artist proof of this.
Like this is like this is a Cannibal Corpse album cover, man. Like this is
It's just a pile of diseased, rotting bodies. So blood, rot, pox. That's the three things that this is. And it reads, at the beginning of your end phase, destroy blood, rot, pox. Then it deals 2 damage to you unless you pay 3 resources. I think that if, like, so far from what we've seen and our, cards we'll talk about in the future, it seems as though having access to this effect won't be super uncommon. So basically having all of your on hits deal an additional 2 damage at the end of the turn can actually be like pretty scary, I think. And I think that the alternate mode of paying 3 resources to prevent it is a lot. Like that is a huge payment, especially because it's, like going into the end of their turn sort of thing.
Yep.
Certain heroes will be able to pay. Certain heroes will be able to pay the 3 and not have much damage dealt to them. Some like Icelander blues, Oldhim, lots of blues, Guardian, lots of blues. They'll be able to prevent it. But if you look at red decks, they're going to have to pay 3 cards to prevent 2 damage. And it also screws up the fact that if they want to prevent the damage, they might have to not then Arsenal a card because they have to pitch to save themselves, right? So not then going to be able to Arsenal a card. So also
they would still be able to draw at the end of their turn because this is like Ponder, where you can draw the card and then you can choose to Arsenal it. But then that means, like, as a result, they would have had to either keep resources floating or not play cards or use cards so that they pay for it later. So I think that it's just a really interesting effect. I'm a big fan of it.
I love Blood Rot Pox. And out of the 3 plagues, this one is my favorite one by a decent margin. And
of course, it would be
the damage one.
Loves damage to me.
Oh yeah, and I can just imagine stacking these, like having multiple instances of Blood Rot Pox. Pox is going to be brutal. I've been thinking about this a lot. I actually think that this is just like going to be 2 damage most of the time because even those heavy blue decks. The fact that it costs 3 to prevent this effect means that they have to sandbag at least a blue, which means that they have to block your attacks enough that they keep a blue plus other things to actually do something on their turn. And if it's a heavy blue deck, most of their stuff is probably really expensive, right? So the fact that like they're probably not going to have the resources, what I'm saying. Either aggro decks or like these heavy blue decks are probably not going to have the resources, or they're just going to have a really weak turn, right? Where they do nothing, or on the other hand, they just took a ton of damage from you, didn't block it all, and then they did a thing and then paid for the Blood Rot Pox. Either way, I think this card's sick. Like it pressures them immensely, and it turns something like the Death Touch from like a 6 attack to like an 8, like it threatens 8 damage basically. And if you combine that with something like Take Aim, that's pushing like 11 damage for like 1 resource. So I really like Blood Rot Pox. In fact, I was actually thinking like certain aggro decks might actually be able to prevent this more, where they go 0 cost, 0 cost, 0 cost, blue, like they just pay their
keep their blue.
But we'll see. I think it's awesome though.
I think that it's kind of crazy that each instance, like you were saying with the fact that it stacks, each instance has to be paid 3. Like you have to pay 3 to prevent each instance of 2 damage. So like if you get 2 of these, I don't think it's likely that they're going out of that unscathed. I think that they are at least taking 2 damage. And then if you're able to stack even more than that, like it's a death sentence. I know that this isn't the real use case of this, but 10 of these Blood Rot Pox tokens wins you the game.
Yeah, it's pretty
so like it only takes 10, and every time you deal damage to them, that number goes down really fast. So like,
what if there's like a doubling season mechanic in this, where if you were to get 1 token, you get 2 instead. There's got to be something
nuts.
Like that.
That would be crazy.
I would be
proliferate.
I'd be all over that, man. Like, give me that.
What's that illusionist attack? 1 for 7. That when it breaks, you have to create a copy of an aura you control.
Metamorph.
Miraging Metamorph. I'm pretty sure that's not you may. I'm pretty sure it's mandatory. I'm just double checking that now. Yeah, when Miraging Metamorph is destroyed, create a token that's a copy of an aura you control. So if you create a Bloodrot Pox token for them, and then they attack you with a Miraging Metamorph, and you're able to break it with Death Touch or whatever, then they have to make a second Bloodrot Pox if that's the only aura they have.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll ever come up, but if it does, that'd be hilarious.
Be funny.
I think that's a goal for 2023 for me, is to make that happen to somebody.
Oh man.
But anyway, so that's Bloodrot Pox. That one's like a really, really intriguing one. I still do think the other two are intriguing for their own purposes, but in terms of this one stacking is, I think, specifically a maybe going to be a problem.
Like I know I'm gonna be making more Bloodrot Poxes than any of the other ones, like for sure. Like 95% Bloodrot Pox, and then like 5% other ones situationally, depending on the whatever. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
but
it is just like the most impactful if you make multiples of them, I think, because the next one up here, I still do like this one for its own merits, not quite as much as Bloodrot Pox, but next up we have Frailty, which is the second one, and it's the same sort of thing. It's an aura, and it just says your attack action cards played from Arsenal and your weapon attacks have -1 attack, and then at the beginning of your end phase, destroy this. So I misread this at first and thought that it was a lot better than it was. At first I was like, oh, this round's on me, but without the card draw. But it is a lot more limited than that. It's only for, it hits every arrow. Just at base, it hits every arrow. And then also if somebody arsenals a Command and Conquer, or their Spring Tidings or whatever, then it'll nerf those accordingly. As well as Kodachis.
Well,
so like
Kodachis and also those annoying illusionist weapons, because what Luminaris does is it actually turns the auras into weapons. So all of the little weapons actually all now come in for 0-2. So if Prism gets, a resurgence, the new Prism comes out, it's a really big deal. Frailty actually kind of guts a lot of that, which is cool.
Yeah, Frailty prevents the Spectral Shield pings.
Yeah. Another thing you can stack as well, right? So if you stack a couple of these, they're going to get -2 instead, -3 if you're hitting multiple times with Frailty. So could also nerf and take away a lot of those breakpoints from those key cards that come in for 4 is now coming in for 3. So you can block with 1 card and prevent the on hit, like a Snatch or something like that. So it has a lot more utility than at first glance, I think.
I also think it actually kind of just like is super annoying for warriors. Like just nerfing their weapon even by like -1 is like so annoying. Like this makes Dawnblade a base like 2, which is like, I don't know. I just think it's good.
They're like warriors are already so worried about just getting like a little bit over that breakpoint to make sure that they're hitting. And like even -1 does actually throw a pretty decent wrench in the plan, especially if you get to stacking these. I think that Dorinthia gets very sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So definitely a lot more situational. I think in the situations where it's good, it is actually quite good.
Yeah.
But it's not sort of as all-encompassing as Bloodrot Pox. But still, like I said, I don't think that this card is necessarily bad. I think that because as well, it's a bonus on top of other stuff. It's something that is being created by other cards. It's not quite as feel bad as say like, oh, this is an aura that you would have to play. Like if this actually was a card that took up a space in your deck and you had to, spend just an action point on it potentially, I think this card is not playable.
It's just like a bad, this round's on me.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that Frailty is definitely not like just objectively bad. I think that it is extremely useful. It is a tool to be used in the correct situations.
I think, I agree 100%. And I think because of that, it makes the Frailty specific cards that we'll talk about a little bit later not as good, but it makes the cards that give you options like Death Touch very, very good, because then it gives you like this flexibility where you can target what your opponent's doing. So I like it in those situations where it's like an option rather than like the feature of the attack, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And something else that I wanted to say, I'm pretty sure when we talked about Codex of Frailty on whichever podcast that was a few weeks ago at this point, but I think I remember mentioning when we were looking at it and we didn't know what Frailty was, because it was the first thing that said create a Frailty token. I was like, I'm pretty sure Frailty could literally just be an aura that says like your next attack gets -1, and this card is still crazy. And it is better than that effect, I would say. Like at the very least, it can affect 2 attacks. That's totally fine. Codex of Frailty is still crazy.
What's super interesting about Codex of Frailty is that it puts the cards that you get from it into the arsenal, so it actually will nerf that card that gets put into your opponent's arsenal, which I think is actually like really cool, like design.
True.
Yeah, actually, I do like that. You get like extra benefit for it, and it also like gives your opponent a benefit, but then reins it in a little bit.
Yeah.
By giving that -1. That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, 'cause if you're not playing against a ranger as well, actually no, it puts any attack action into their arsenal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so you can just clog their arsenal or something, and it just gets debuffed. Yeah. Okay.
Well, they have to choose.
And if they already have a card in their arsenal, then they just don't get a card back, and you get a card back.
Yeah, and you still debuff the one they've put there, essentially.
Yeah.
It makes the Codex of Frailty much more of a tough decision, because they get to choose whether or not they want to do that part. Because if they do, they have to discard a card from their hand as well. So now they have to be like, okay, do I want to actually discard the card and also get the debuff on the thing, or like, I don't know. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's really smart.
It's really neat, and because of that, I'm really excited to see what the other codices do.
Yes,
Codices.
And that is, I'm pretty sure, the official.
I think you're right.
The official plural. Yeah.
No one says that word outside of like archivists and like D&D players.
Yeah.
Until
I guess
today.
I'm revealing my hand a little bit too much. But yeah, if the other codices are as well designed as Codex of Frailty, then I think we're in for a really big treat. I think that's gonna be awesome.
I can't wait for Codex of like Blood Rat Pox. Gimme.
It's just gonna be like create 10 Blood Rot Pox tokens under your opponent's control.
Oh, it's so good.
Each player creates 10 Blood Rot Pox tokens.
I'll do it. I'll take it. I'll take the damage just to kill you.
Yeah, that'd be sick. And then you just follow it up with a Sigil of Solace. Haha.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so then last up for the tokens, we have Inertia. And for some reason, this one doesn't really feel like a plague to me. Like just the name of it doesn't feel like a plague, but I do like the effect. And it's the same sort of thing as Frailty, where it's like definitely situational.
Yeah.
But I still do like it because it's another card in the long line of cards that LSS is adding to the game to give us options for Command and Conquer. I'm a big fan though, because Inertia is another aura that says at the beginning of your end phase, destroy Inertia, then put all cards from your hand and arsenal on the bottom of your deck. So it's another piece of sort of arsenal hate. If your opponent has been sitting on a card and they're waiting for the opportune time to play it, and you hit them with an Inertia and they aren't able to play the card on their turn, then bye-bye. And it is also the same sort of threat as like Seek and Destroy from Tales of Aria, where you can't keep cards back in your hand at the end of your turn. If you were looking to try to sculpt something together, then Inertia just messes with that plan entirely.
Great against Icelander as well, right? Because they want to arsenal a blue ice card every time, and they can just get rid of that. So more sort of options to allow, against Icelander is a nice thing for sure.
And all rangers too.
And all rangers.
Just make sure that they don't have the ability to arsenal something at the end of their turn, which can be extremely impactful. But
I was gonna say,
it's the same sort of thing where it's not ubiquitous. It's not something that you would play necessarily in every matchup, but I think in the situations it's good. Same as Frailty, I think it's very good in those situations.
I agree. In the situations that it's like at its best, it basically it doesn't make your opponent discard a card, but it gives them one less card of options, right? So if they're on a plan where they want to actually arsenal stuff and go into a like virtual 5-card hand, this says no, you can't do that. You can only have 4 cards. So for some instances, it's basically like a -1 card if you want to think about it that way. But against some other classes, it does like nothing at all. So like against like your Cheerios, Briars, or whatever, like maybe they want an Arsenal card here or there, but if they're just gonna be slamming like 0-cost go agains, like they don't care. Like
it doesn't super affect them. Like I think in those situations where that kind of deck wants to Arsenal card, it's just because they like have the ability to. They're like, I didn't need to play this second plunder run this turn, so I'm just gonna slap it down here. So
it does hose over like the tomes though, the Earth tome. I forget what it's called, but it does kind of hose that over.
Tome of Harvests. But yeah, anyway, I think that all three of these are, at least at the very bare minimum, interesting effects. I don't think that I think I'm impressed with all of them. None of them feel overtly like useless, or I think that they're all well designed. I think they are actually flavorful as well, except for maybe Inertia, but I'm probably missing something story wise.
There's probably some historical disease that makes people like lethargic or something. I don't know, there's probably something.
Yeah, it must be. But yeah, so those are the three tokens. We're going to be talking about a couple of cards that create those, as well as some interesting ones. I think before we get into the other non-token ones, let's just quickly go over the token ones as well.
But before we do that, I want to just go back to Death Touch real quick. So since we've seen all three of the tokens, we can now actually see like how good Death Touch really is, right? So it's a 1 for 6. You can't play it from your hand, but if it hits, you get to pick any one of these tokens. So it's an incredibly versatile card, right? You can tailor it to whatever you want it to do, right? So if your opponent is Icelander, they're setting up, you can pick the Inertia, right? If there are Dorinthia, or like they're coming in with Kodachis or whatever, you can do Frailty, or if they're like another Ranger, I guess. Or Bloodrot Pox, you just toss Bloodrot Pox in, generally, right? Just to extra damage. So I actually think a Death Touch is like super, super good. I have no idea how often I'm playing this as an assassin, like from my arsenal, but Ranger, I can see ways. We already talked about how aim shot, or take aim is what it's called. Take aim, lets you put a card in your arsenal, pumps up the next Ranger attack by +3 for the red, and then you can just fire this off for 9, and if you want to do Blood Rot, that threatens 11 damage. And so like
another sort of interaction as well that was thrown at me on a live chat, because I did the Azalea cult today, and we spoke a little bit about this, of course, was if you use take cover as well on your defending turn, you can reload this card into your arsenal. And then you can come back for 1 with a tunic trigger. And that's pretty powerful line for just 1 tunic trigger and reloading the card and defending with everything else in your hand. Coming in for 6 and then with an on hit with whatever you want to get I think it's brilliant. I think it's really, really good. Like you said with the take aim as well, this essentially is a 1 for 9 plus the Blood Rot is 11. I just think it's really good.
I think it's very, very good. Also, the 6 is relevant because it helps pop illusionist things, which is something that both Ranger and Assassin like suck at. So like that's really good. And because of that, I'm very curious on the rarity of this card. I mentioned in my video that I would guess it's a Majestic, because I think the versatility makes it a Majestic, right? Someone commented and they're like, they don't think it's Majestic because the 2 block and having to not being able to play from hand is a very real downside, which I agree. But I can't imagine them making like a yellow and a blue of this thing, right? Like, can you running 9 of this in a deck? I mean, I would love to. Like, if they do that, and this is like a rare or a common, sign me up. I mean, draft is going to be nuts. But I think it's a Majestic. That would be my guess.
I think it's going to be a rare similar to we've seen some. The only one that I can think of right now is the mechanologist items from Arcane Rising, where
I see what you're
there
saying.
were different. There was a cycle of them, but it was 3 different things at each color.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, so I think that this will be like the red of that cycle, and then there's going to be something that deals with potentially all 3 tokens again, but as a yellow, maybe like a non-attack action or something.
Yeah, I can see that.
That would be my guess, just because we don't have a lot of precedent for. This is what I'm basing this off of basically entirely. Is what you said, the downside of the 2-block and the can't be played from hand, but also that we haven't seen a ton of promo cards that are majestic in their like original printing.
Yeah.
The only one that I can think of outside of that is like the heroes from Everfest. Like we had Icelander as a promo. And
true,
Genus, I think, as a promo. Those were Majestics, but that kind of feels a little bit different.
They're the heroes. Yeah, I think they're different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're right in that I don't think that this is going to be a cycle. I don't think that having 9 of this card is like healthy.
Yeah, because that's the big thing that I was like, I didn't think there was going to be like a blue and a yellow version of the card. Having it as a part of a different cycle as a rare makes a lot of sense, and also makes it so that it's much more of a draft pick, right? Because if it's rare or common, then you'll be seeing this a lot more in booster packs. So it could be much more of a draft card rather than like a random bomb that you get, which is what a Majestic would be.
Definitely.
I don't know. I'm down. I hope it is a rare because I want to play this in draft, man. Like I'm gonna draft this thing. This card's sweet.
God, it's so versatile. I think that Bloodrot Pox is gonna live in the same space as like endgame Kodachis for me. Where it's like it's such a soul sucking like position to be in.
Oh yeah.
Like, okay, I'm gonna pitch a blue card and threaten lethal twice before doing anything else. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah. Imagine getting like 2, like just loading your opponent with like 2 Bloodrot Poxes at the end of the game, and they're just like, have a turn or die. Guess I'm not having a turn. Like it's
activate Tunic to play for Bloodrot Pox.
Yeah, pitch a yellow. A yellow, activate Tunic.
Oh god.
Activate Deep Blue.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
Oh man.
Brilliant. Crack energy potion to prevent death.
Yeah.
That
brilliant.
would just suck. But yeah. Anyway, so now there are also some cards that we saw that go along with each of those tokens. And they feel very much like the most of the cards that we've already gotten for Assassin, specifically out of Uprising, where it's like they just want to fill out this cycle, this theme, and make it draft like reasonable within draft.
Yep.
So all of these cards are extremely similar, and we can kind of just bundle them all together.
Yeah, there's like 2 different types, and then within the types, there's like 1 for each of the what do you want to call them? Plagues, I guess.
Yes. So each of the plagues has an attack action and an attack reaction. They're all assassin cards. And all of the attacks are what we've seen. They are red pitch. They cost 0. They attack for 3 and they block for 3. They all have stealth. We still don't know what stealth is, as far as I'm aware. It is just the keyword in bold, stealth, on each of the cards.
They were very tricky. These are all foil cards, and if you know Flesh and Blood, they cut out the reminder text on foil cards. So stealth could still be a lot of different things. We have no idea.
They're doing a good job, I think. This is good. It keeps people thinking.
Yeah.
But each of them, there's one called Infect, which when it hits, it creates a Bloodrot Pox. There's Sedate, which on hit creates Inertia, and then Wither on hit creates a Frailty. Yep. So all of these are exactly the same, except they just create one of the 3 tokens, depending on which one it is. And then we have the attack reactions, which the only ones we've seen are red. These ones are rare. The other ones were common, by the way. These attack reactions are rare. They all block for 3. They all pitch for 1, and they all cost 1. And the spike with Bloodrot says target attack action card with stealth gets +3, and when it hits, create a Bloodrot Pox. Spike with Frailty is the same thing. Card with stealth gets +3, and when this hits, create a Frailty. And then card with stealth gets +3, create an Inertia, and that's Spike with Inertia.
Nice.
So kind of interesting for this as well, because it kind of means that you can mix and match. And if you attack in with a Sedate and you're like, okay, on hit this is going to create an Inertia, and then you attack react with Spike with Bloodrot, it's like, okay, now you get Inertia and Bloodrot. Or you go like with Infect, which already creates a Bloodrot, 2 Bloodrots.
2 Bloodrots. Oh, that's the That's the eating good. What's really interesting to me about these? We had Brian Gottlieb on the podcast. We talked about designing assassin cards. These feel along similar design as Contract, not mechanically, but thematically, in that they target very specific things, right? So Contract targets whatever the contract is. These are also targeting, but like I said, differently, right? So like you're not going to be playing Sedate and Wither like in every single assassin deck, right? You want to put them in against the matchups where you think those effects are going to be good, right? You're not going to put in the what's the one? Wither. Yeah, you're not going to put in Wither against like a, like a wizard or something like that, where you don't care about the attacking from arsenal and the weapons or whatever. So in that vein, you're going to have, these are like sideboard cards almost. Like you put them in targeted against specific decks in Classic Constructed. Except for Infect and Spike with Blood Rot. In which case, I'm putting them in all of my assassin decks because I want to give you a lot of Blood Rot and kill you.
Yeah, I think you just slam those.
Yeah, so like draft wise, like since these are commons and rares, these are going to be very, very commonly seen cards in limited, like in draft and sealed. And I really do think you'll have your cards, like unless your pool like really sucks, you'll have options like, oh, I'm gonna put in the frailty against X hero, I want to put in the inertia against X hero, and you can kind of swap them out during your matchups, which I think is a lot of fun. Which is not something I do a lot in Flesh and Blood Limited. I'm just like, here's my deck. There's the deck, right? Unless it's like Arcane Rising, you're like, oh, I'm gonna swap out the Arcane Barrier or whatever. So yeah, that's my little spiel on these. I think they're interesting, but they're not windmill slams. Well, except for the Blood Rot Pox ones. I think those
Except
are
for Blood Rot, yeah.
And I also want to note that they must value stealth very highly because these are all 0 for 3s with no go again. So they're like at base level, they're like not very like flashy cards, and it's a 0 for 3 and 3's easily blocked. So this can get into a little bit of speculation on stealth. I still think stealth is an evasion mechanic because like if it was just a 0 for 3 with the on hit, that's terrible. Your opponent can block with any, like, depends on the class, right? But like almost any card blocks it out, just one single card. So like I would assume that they'd make it a 0 for 4 if stealth wasn't a evasion mechanic, right? Like they need to have some reason like you want to actually attack with this thing. I mean, obviously we have the attack reactions, which all also care about stealth, which also tells me that the assassin limited mechanic is definitely stealth because they all care about stealth. Like the card has stealth, the reactions mention stealth specifically, so I think that's going to be like the draft archetype for assassin.
Yeah. And then basically the only other just assassin card that we've seen so far is Razor's Edge, which is the same thing except it costs 1 less and doesn't give an on hit.
Yeah.
It just is stealth gets +3. So yeah, I feel like
I reckon it's 3. I reckon 3 is the magic number. I reckon my speculation is you can't block with cards power greater than 3. I think that's probably what I reckon. It could be that you can't block with cards greater power than 3. That's my speculation.
I saw someone in one of my comment section mention this, and I think it's smart. We already saw Death Touch, which cares about being played from Arsenal, and we have Ranger, which also cares about being played from Arsenal. What if Stealth cares about being played from Arsenal? Like, what if it's like, if this card is played from Arsenal, then it's unblockable, or can't be blocked by X, or something like that. Because that makes sense to me flavor-wise, too, because it's hidden, it's stealthy in the Arsenal. You don't know, and then, boom. Then you get...
And then all of a sudden, it's up in your face.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
it would make a lot of sense to me if that was stealth mechanic, and then we also had a bunch of, like, reload on various cards in the set, especially Assassin Ranger cards, so you could then reload the stealth cards and then attack with them. So, and that would also make Death Touch more playable if we had a lot of reload cards, so you can arsenal it and then play. So that's kind of like
reload was on the Dragon Shield poster as well, wasn't it? Because they had Katsu and Azalea sleeves.
They did say reload,
combo and reload.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe there is a lot of reload coming.
I think so. That's my guess. Like, putting on like game developer hat, like all this stuff like really makes sense to me from like a limited environment. I'm thinking about it like specifically from limited, right? Not just from like, oh, they could do this and constructed and that would be fun. Like what would make the best limited environment and all these abilities that synergize. And yeah, reload and then stealth being boosted or turned on by being played from Arsenal. So that's my guess.
And that also goes into the Codex of Frailty, because Codex of Frailty wants to put things into the arsenal as well.
Exactly.
And it is specifically, it does say attack action card, the Codex of Frailty. It says each hero puts an attack action card from their graveyard. So normally for that, because you've said it has to be a specific type of card, most of the time in other card games, you have to show your opponent that it is that card so that you're not cheating. But then another thing that kind of adds to this tinfoil hat, it is put it into your arsenal face down. So you reveal the card, you're showing your opponent what it is, and then you put it face down. So
I mean,
maybe stealth cares about if it was a face down card in your arsenal.
That makes sense. Like flavor wise, that makes sense, right? Because
there it is.
You don't know what it is. It's sneaky. Because a lot of people were thinking about like, oh, what if we like attack with it face down or something like that? And I'm like, that's messy. Like gameplay wise, that's like really messy. But like playing it like while it's face down, like from the arsenal, and then obviously turn it face up, makes a lot of sense.
That's got to be it. That's got to be it, lads.
Like,
got to be it. Because inertia as well. Inertia gets rid of the arsenal, so it's another thing that cares about the arsenal, right?
Yeah, it cares about. Yeah, it does. It does. It clears the arsenal, and then frailty gets -1 to attacks played from the arsenal.
Yeah.
Like you hear it here. Living Legends,
and then blood rot pox.
Just eat it.
Damage.
Blood rot pox is just like eat it.
Briar go burr.
Someone clip this for when spoiler season starts, whether we're like right or very, very wrong.
I'm willing to be either. I'm just excited to speculate baselessly.
I think we're actually like onto something here. I think this makes like a lot of sense. Everything
feels valid.
Everything works, right? All of the tokens, all of like the ranger attacks, the fact that the other card, Death Touch, can't be played from hand. Like it just makes so much sense. So, yep.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
There's collective speculation.
Yeah.
Speculation.
Speculation. So there are 2 additional cards that we get to talk about today. I don't know if we want to talk about so there's a ranger one and there's a ninja one. I don't know. I'm really excited to talk about the ranger one, and I think all of us are. I think we're uniquely positioned to be excited to talk about this one. So I don't know if we want to talk about that first or leave it for last. And
go last.
I vote for the ninja one first.
I think I think go last because I think it'll be a lot of discussion.
I think the ninja one's actually like really good. Like
I think this card's crazy.
As a rare, it's like insane. Like this looks like a majestic to me. Like this is a crazy card. Yeah.
So I talked about all of the other stuff. So how about we'll get Az to talk about the ranger card because that's just I think that makes sense. So Kel, why don't you tell us about this new ninja card?
Yeah, actually, let me pull it up. I've been looking at this on the. Let me see. Give me 1 second to pull it up.
Yeah.
Because I have it on the Discord, or not the Discord, but I have it on the OBS, but it is not large. It is very small. It's a really sweet card.
Just rereading this, I noticed something that I didn't before, and I already thought this card was insane. And it's like, oh yeah. I noticed one additional thing. Like this card is
very unique,
maybe nuts.
So I think this card implies that we're either getting a Whelming Gustwave reprint or we're going to get a new line of Gustwave cards because it actually cares about the word Gustwave in the name of the card, which I think is actually very cool, and I think actually opens up Katsu and just combo in general. And this is something that I want to see in more combo lines to be less like super specific and more generally specific, right? So this card is Bonds of Ancestry. Blocks for 2, blocks for 3, cost 2, attacks for 4, but it kind of doesn't cost 2. It says combo, if a card with Gustwave in its name was the last attack this combat chain, this costs 2 less, so it becomes free. Has go again, and then when this attacks, not when this hits, When this attacks, you may banish a card with combo from your graveyard. If you do, search your deck for a card with the same name, banish it, shuffle. You may play it this combat chain. So this card is actually like super sick.
Okay.
This is a free tutor that you can just play, right? Like, so if you played a Gust Wave card, and once again, this opens up the possibility of multiple Gust Wave cards. Currently, we have Whelming Gust Wave, but this opens up the possibility of multiple Gust Wave cards. Then this is for free. It's coming in for 4. Immediately has Go again, and doesn't have an on hit. It has an on attack. So on attack, you banish a card from your graveyard, which you're already pitching, or not pitching. You're already discarding with Katsu to go tutor for other things, right? You banish that card, and then you go search for another copy of that card, and then you can play it. Like, that's crazy. That's pretty crazy. And one thing I'd like to note is that it does have to be a card with combo, right? It can't just be any like attack action or whatever. It's actually interesting that it says. It's actually interesting that it doesn't say attack action with combo. It just says a card with combo, and it doesn't say you may attack with this combat chain. It just says you can play it this combat chain. So if they ever make a card that has combo but is not an attack action, you can go tutor for it with this as well, which I think is super interesting.
How about an attack reaction?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think this card is really, really sweet. And as someone who just built like a Katsu deck that I've been having a lot of fun with, I love this card. Like, it does all the things I want to do with Ninja. Like, so some of my favorite Ninja lines previously were like Flood of Force and the other one that goes with Flood of Force that I forget what is it called? Not Break Tide.
Breaking Tide.
Oh, it is Breaking Tide. Yeah, the one that has like Dominate. Both of those have like card advantage or pseudo card advantage. And this card also has card advantage. I think this card is like legit. This is a really good card, and it's rare, so you will be playing this in draft. It's so sweet.
I didn't see this costs 2 less to play the first time I read this card.
Oh yeah.
So I was considering this card based on you having to pay 2 for it, and I was like, this card's great. This card's awesome. But just randomly, this is a free tutor that allows you to go essentially card positive with Katsu.
Yeah.
Because you're discarding the card to search for a card, so that replaces itself already. Then you banish that card you just discarded to get a card. You're +1.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
what I like with this is one of the things I like so much with this. Okay, so Katsu, right? Katsu's hero ability says when one of your attack action cards hits, you can discard a 0 cost card to go get a card with combo, right? So what you could do is you can hit with a Gust Wave attack, right? So you play Gust Wave attack, you hit with a Gust Wave attack, you discard a 0 cost card, and you can go get this card and then play it, because you can go tutor for Bonds of Ancestry, get it, attack with it, and then banish the card, the 0 cost card that you discarded with Katsu, to go get another copy and then play that. Like, This is sick, dude. Like, yeah, I love this. This is gonna be really fun in draft. I think this is gonna be super fun. I see why it costs 2. Because they don't want you discarding it with Katsu to go tutor for other things.
Being able to just go into a second Bond of Ancestry.
So
crazy.
Yeah, it virtually costs 0. Like, it costs 0 for all intents and purposes, because you're almost never gonna play this just like 2 for 4 with no effect, right? But this is a good one. This is also a rare. So not only you can play this a lot in draft, but it might have a full cycle of a blue and a yellow. So there's that too.
The fact again that it's an on attack, the blue version has to be crazy, right? Like,
oh yeah, it's not.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it costs 2, which is a big downside, right? So it costs 2, so the blue won't do Kodachi shenanigans, right? It doesn't turn on your Kodachis for Go again, but still, right? Like, it's still a blue that has an on attack, not an on hit. So yeah, this is a good card. Thumbs up.
Very excited for this, and my very last note that I want to make is that this can be pummeled.
It can't be pummeled, yeah. Oh my god, Katsu, pummel Katsu.
Katsu pummel.
Katsu.
Yo, what's the there's a combo starter. I think it's the kick. That's a 2 for 5 with Go Again.
Oh, that's Surging Strike, isn't it?
Or is it Surging Strike? Yeah, there's a 2 for 5 with Go Again. That's a combo starter. Oh, pummel Katsu.
Pummel Katsu.
Oh.
I love it. We already had Muscle Wizard, or people call it Bull-lander. I think that calling it Bull-lander is stupid. You should just call it Muscle Wizard.
Muscle Wizard's good. Muscle Wizard's good.
And then, this would be Muscle Ninja.
Oh, it's so good. Buff Ninja. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm like over the moon excited for that. The fact that that's just a rare, like, what do we have for Majestics, for ninjas, and for, Rangers, everybody, really.
The card is just so good. There's so many ways they could have made it like not good, and they just went all for it. Like
they just made it good.
Like if it was just like on hit, it would have made it so much worse. But they went for it. This is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then finally the pièce de résistance, something that is changing the game as we know it technically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is fundamentally changing a core mechanic of the game for Rangers. And please do the honors and introduce us to this new card.
Quiver of Rustling Leaves. I thought this was going to be a Ranger Ninja equipment when I first saw it, because Rustling Leaves sounds like something like out of Crouching Tiger, like a Hidden Dragon. Or something.
Yeah,
it does kind of. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, as you said, obviously it's a new design space entirely. So a quiver can be equipped in a weapon zone in addition to a bow. So I will go ahead and say that obviously everybody in my Discord was wrong because they were saying like, oh well, if you've got a two-handed bow in your weapon zone, you can't have this. You have to have a one-handed bow. But no, it says you can. In addition to the space, right? That's the main thing that you have to read there.
Yep.
The rules are changing specifically for Rangers.
It's literally an extra equipment slot the Rangers get. You get a free extra equipment slot. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a space that hasn't been explored yet at all for any hero, for that matter. It's a new space entirely, essentially. But yeah, at instant speed, you can pay 3. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an arrow, put it face up into your arsenal and then destroy Quiver of Rustling Leaves. So, yeah, fantastic. Absolutely love it. I love the fact that it's instant speed as well. So you can potentially do the whole sort of thing that Lexi can do with Voltaire, where you can load something into your arsenal by, having, if you go second, you can load something in and still play with 5 cards, essentially, which I like. I like the ability to be able to also filter your hand as well, because sometimes in Azalea you're running things like, I'm speaking from Azalea perspective, you run things like Memorial Ground and Rain Razors that do absolutely nothing on your turn. You can filter those away, so I think that's also quite good as well. What do you guys think? I know you got some thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, like if we left in that rant at the beginning, you've heard a lot of my thoughts. I think
That's
it's
true.
like, I don't think it's like an insane card, but I think it's all right. And Flesh and Blood is a game about, like, I've mentioned this a couple times while talking about this card. Flesh and Blood is a game about like incremental advantage, right? And so like you want to get incremental advantage over your opponent, and that's what will win you the game. That's why the Tunic, Phaenos Spring Tunic, is so good. It gives you a very small advantage, well, decent advantage, every 3 turns, right? And this card gives you like 1 instance of advantage, but it's like almost like a free advantage, right? You just have it just sitting there that you can use whenever you want. The opportunity cost is just, it takes up a card slot in your deck. Like, that's basically the only opportunity cost. Other than that, you just have this on board. It makes 3 of a kind whiffs so much better, where like if you whiff on 3 of a kind, you can at least pitch some of the cards to do this. The fact that it says reveal the top card of your deck, period. Then if it's an arrow, put it face up and then destroy it, means that you can, if you whiff, you can like activate it multiple times, which is really interesting. On like a turn 1, you could basically get a free mulligan with this if you whiff. So you can whiff, reveal the top card, and then pitch another blue, reveal the top card. It's the same card, and you can just keep doing that to get like a free mulligan, which I think is kind of funny. I love that in Ultimate Pit Fight also, by the way, because on turn 1 everyone draws up. So in UPF, you just pitch your whole hand if it sucks and just draw up. I think it's really good in Lexi, where you can have multiple arsenal slots, right? If you're using the New Horizon. Lexi also already runs like a decent amount of blues, so like the fact that this costs 3 doesn't matter as much. I like this card. I think it's good. It's not crazy.
It's also I think it's also as well with Azalea, right? You've got on board from the start. You've until this card was released, on board from the start, you've got your bow, which can load an arrow into your arsenal, and bullseye bracers. Right, so if you need another piece of something that can get an arrow into your arsenal somehow, this can do that as well.
I just thought of something with this card too. It actually makes a card that I know some people. I mentioned it in one of the last podcasts. Seek Horizon, the 0 for 4, and you alternate cost. You put a card on top of your deck. You could 0 for 4, put the card on top of your deck, and then use your quiver to slam it into your arsenal to fire it off. If you don't have any other ways of doing it, like if you've already used your bow and you don't have access to your gloves. So I can actually see like this having some use. Maybe there are more card effects that let you put stuff back on top of your deck.
Like Rise Above, the defense reaction. It's got an alternate cost where you put a card from your hand on top of your deck. So that's another thing that you could potentially then use the quiver to get into your arsenal without using Death Dealer or whatever.
Rise Above's a little jank, but you know.
It is a little jank, but yeah, that's definitely what I'm thinking of. Pure jank.
I mean, I love Rise Above. I literally have a Rise Above print over there, so I love the art on it.
Yeah. Hopefully there'll be a use for it eventually, but without seeing the rest of the set, we can't make a massive judgment. But I think it's an auto include simply for the fact that it doesn't. There's no downside to having it in your list.
Yeah.
I mean, it does take up a slot in your deck registration list or whatever. You know, you're out of your 80 cards or whatever your constructed format is. But the fact that you have it on board constantly and nobody else has access to that form of advantage, I think is just worth having out all the time for that one slot in your deck.
Yeah.
So.
I really like it. I actually think it's insane that people are complaining that this card's not like really good, because like it would be nuts if they gave a class a whole new equipment slot and then made the only equipment for that busted, like really strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, that line of thinking is like insane to me, like that people would expect that. Like like just thinking about like balancing a game, like, oh, here's that's like a good way to like turn a class from like to like absolutely disgusting.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, I don't think anybody's really approached it from that angle. If you're opening up a new zone entirely, you can't make it absolutely ridiculously powerful, can you? At all?
Yeah.
A quiver is just an accessory. It's not a massive legendary bow or anything, is it? It's just an accessory that you can get a little bit of value from every now and again.
And I don't want to like, pardon me, I don't want to like burst anyone's bubble, but a lot of people are like, oh, we might get a legendary quiver. I don't think so. Like, why would they print like a majestic one and then a legendary one that automatically like power creeps the one in the same set? I don't think that's gonna happen.
No. Yeah, I've seen that as well.
Maybe. Pardon me, I'm dying here. But
so sorry, I've looked a little distant for a second here because I just wanted to look through the comprehensive rules for something that just occurred to me about this quiver. Unless I'm missing something, I looked up the rules for what makes an effect not resolve. And currently, I'll actually read them out because there's only 3 instances within the comprehensive rules that would prevent a layer from resolving, and that's if the layer does no longer have a target. So if you target like an aura or something and it gets destroyed for whatever reason, then obviously that doesn't resolve. Attacks can not resolve thanks to Spectra, and then there's a third one. But none of them reference if the permanent or the object creating the layer leaves play. So, and from what I'm reading and my knowledge, limited knowledge as a judge, I think unless I'm wrong, you can activate this like multiple times in response to itself.
Oh.
And if you have New Horizon and you hit 2 arrows, you would be able to, and you have the because it does put them face up in your arsenal. I do believe if you pitched this a bunch of times, you could get 2 arrows into your arsenal.
You probably could, yeah. I think you could, right? Because it's an instant, right? Because
it's an instant.
You could definitely, even if it you just respond to yourself, right? So you pitch 3, instant, activate the effect. Effect is like on the whatever the chain, or the stack or whatever, and then it gets
put onto the stack, and
you
then
respond
you regain
to
priority.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you could definitely do that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make like extra sure. There might be one thing that I'm missing, and I know for a fact if I am missing something, there will be people in the comments to correct me. But an interesting use case for this, especially on turn 1, you could do the Lexi thing and start with 2 cards in your arsenal, and then a 4-card hand. So
yeah, I think you definitely could. It's you could also whiff, but if you whiff, then you can just mulligan, basically, just pitch your whole hand and draw more cards.
Yeah, it's not like a guaranteed thing, because if you reveal something that you can't put on, you don't get to put it on the bottom, and it doesn't like leave or anything. It just remains the top card of your deck. So you would just see the same card potentially 4 times. But if you're lucky,
yeah, why not? Why not? Like, I don't know. I think this is I like it. I like this thing. I know a lot of Ranger players are hoping for the moon. They're like, oh, it's gonna give your next arrow +2 dominate and go again, just like Sarvo. But no, that's not gonna happen on like an extra equipment slot, right? That's not gonna happen.
I think that this is a totally fine debut of an additional zone in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also,
I like it.
Another cool thing about this is that it puts it face up into your arsenal. So if you're running the Sandscour Great Bow, you will get an aim counter on that thing as well. And obviously, we don't know. Yeah, exactly. So we don't know what. That's another thing I was going to ask as well. Is for people that are watching this, listening to this, or you guys as well, of course, is we've seen a lot already for this set, right? We've seen 3 diseases. We've seen obviously a ninja card. We've seen it's only just begun. Spoilers, has only just begun.
Yep.
Is there still room for the aim counter mechanic or not, or is James, when James said about the aim counters being a thing potentially, is that going to be later on in the year, or is it going to be jammed into this as well? Do you think? Because there's a lot going on already.
I don't think we've seen any Ranger specific cards except for the Quiver. So I think I think Ranger is actually completely open. Like we already talked about like my theory on Assassin and like Stealth, but like and I'm pretty sure that Ninja we've seen combo, and like this we've seen like combo matters cards, because like the card that we just talked about, the Bonds of Ancestry, cares about other combo cards. So we can kind of extrapolate that combo is going to be a big part of Ninja. But Ranger, we actually don't really know. We haven't seen many Ranger cards. I think when we start seeing Ranger cards at common and rare is when we can start kind of like sussing that out. Because then we can start seeing, because the common and rare cards are going to be like what's going to be like drafted. So we can see like those are going to be the archetypes. So I think once we start seeing those, we can start seeing it. So if you see like a common Ranger arrow that cares about aim counters, there you go. Probably going to be a big part of the set. Yeah, but we don't know. We haven't seen any yet.
The one thing that I can say is, even after all of these extra spoilers that we've seen, it actually makes me more excited to be able to play with Codex of Frailty. I think that this card is still
it's so sick.
Nuts.
It gives me some high hopes, and it's probably going to be dashed, that the Codex of Bloodrot Pox is like just amazing. Oh, I hope I'm all into the Bloodrot Pox. Give me that Pox, man. Like,
yeah, it'll be like both players may discard any number of cards from their hand. For each card not discarded this way, create a Bloodrot Pox.
It's so good. Oh yeah, I want it. So I'm very much looking forward to that. That also makes me wonder. That makes me wonder a couple things about the other codices. Is that the first one we've seen is a Ranger Assassin one, right? Currently, we've only seen Ranger Assassin split cards. I'm very curious if we're going to get any Ninja split cards at this point, is what I'm getting at. We have a very small sample size. We've only seen 2 cards, but it feels like Ranger and Assassin are kind of in on it, and then Ninja might just be the Icelander. You know what I'm saying? Like we had like Phi and Dromai in on it, and then Icelander just kind of like doing her own thing. I wonder if we're gonna get something like that here. I want to see a ninja split card. Give me a ninja split card. I want to see it.
Yeah. I could see Bloodrot Pox being a ninja / assassin thing.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Ninja assassin.
Like, I think I could see that being a thing, because obviously with Benji and with potentially stealth, it's all about just getting damage in and like trying to evade and get on hits. And Benji is pretty good at getting on hits, let me tell you.
And then that would make, if that's the case, and we're doing like a parody kind of thing, that would make the inertia assassin or ranger ninja. Like, does that fit flavor wise? Maybe. I mean, ranger does have like kind of like inertia themed stuff, like with the sleep dart and that kind of stuff, right?
Sleep dart and the traps.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like ways to slow people down.
Yeah, and the inertia effect is basically seek and destroy.
That's true.
2.0.
Yeah, like a mini little baby seek and destroy. Seek and tuck. It doesn't destroy. It doesn't destroy. Just
seek and command and conquer.
Seek and
tuck into bed.
Seek and tuck under. Yeah,
seek and get it out of here.
Yeah. Seek and yeet. Seek and yeet. There we go.
Seek and yeet. There we go.
I'm just this. They're doing a very good job at like just giving us enough to be exciting, but not enough for us to really like officially paint a picture yet. Like you said, the specifically revealing the cards with stealth, but the foil versions that don't have the reminder text.
Yep.
Like that's dubious.
Yeah. I also like to note that on all of these cards, specifically the ones that talk about the plagues, they all have this watermark, and this is more of a flavor thing than anything else. But like the spike with blood rot, wither, in fact, all those cards, they all have this watermark on them. As
the watermarks are all different.
As does Codex of Frailty, and the tokens, right? I think they each correspond to one of the plagues, right? I think each plague has its own specific watermark. The easiest way to look at this is look at the top ridge of the watermark.
Yeah.
Here, let me actually pull it up on here.
Yeah, because
take a look.
Frailty, all of the Frailty cards have the same watermark, and then all of the Inertia cards have a different watermark, but all three of the cards that we've seen so far have that in common. And then same with the Blood Rot.
And I've been wondering, like, I've been feeling like a little bit gypped that I've been feeling a little bit like what's the right word? I'm not sure, but that there's no like apparent talent in the pits, right? And I've been like racking my brain, being like, why didn't they give the pits a talent? I think these are the talents. Like I think these like plagues is the talent for the pits. So instead of like it being like a traditional talent where you have like a toxic brute or whatever, right? I think instead they just give you the ability to make these plagues. And I think that's what this watermark is like signifying, right? That these are like the talent here. That's my guess. That's my guess, but I think it's just really interesting.
Such a good job.
And here's the real kicker. I want to see Death Touch without the extended art and see what kind of watermark that one has, because that one has all three of them.
What if that's another thing that they just did on purpose?
Yeah, like that's what I'm thinking, because they did the extended art, and in the extended art you don't have watermarks or anything. So
this is if it's not carefully done, and this is just like a coincidence, this is the craziest coincidence I've ever seen, because it looks so meticulous.
Yeah,
it's I would not put it past them that it's all like very well planned out. They're like, these are going to be the things that we're spoiling, and so
phenomenal.
I mean, I'm obviously like
everything. it's everything with the plagues on, like you said, isn't it? Because obviously it's not on the ninja card, it's not on the Razor's Edge because that's just an assassin attack reaction. So it's everything by the looks of it that has the plagues or plague generation on it.
Yeah, I think Razor's Edge is the best comparison because Razor's Edge is an assassin attack reaction that does not have it, and then the other assassin attack reactions that care about the plagues, they do have it.
Exactly, yeah. So got to be so much to do with that then.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it has to do with that.
Yeah.
And then I don't have a picture pulled up here. I don't know if this is true or not, but if you look at the Uzuri Switchblade art, I always thought that there was some kind of symbol in the background. Like there's like a symbol in the background that's being made by the light coming through all of like these objects. And it kind of vaguely looks like these symbols.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I don't have a picture of it here prepped, but for those of you listening, those of you watching, just go look up the Uzuri Switchblade, like the full art for it. And I don't know. I think they're doing some stuff. It could be nothing, but if it was intentional, I see you.
The other thing that I'm super excited about is just to see the effects that these heroes have.
Yes.
Because we haven't seen Riptide, we haven't seen Azuri, and we haven't seen the new Arachne. And I think that the reason that they showed them early without their text is just specifically, I think it will wrap up a lot of the questions that we have, and I feel it in my bones. They're going to be like effects that are very well woven into the rest of the set.
Gotcha.
Like obviously Katsu and Benji and Azalea, they're not gonna they're already what they are. But just spitballing, right? What if Arachne cared about blood rot pox? And what if Riptide cared about like frailty and inertia? And then what if Uzuri cared about the other one? Like maybe Uzuri cares about I don't know, inertia, and Riptide cares about frailty, and Arachne cares about blood rot pox. Like I don't know. I'm thinking some stuff. So we'll see. I'm very curious. I'm very curious. I actually think that might be a little bit of a stretch. I actually think that Uzuri probably cares about stealth. And they probably each of these heroes plays into like the core draft mechanic, or at least one of each of the heroes for each class plays into the core draft mechanic. So like Katsu cares about combo, maybe Riptide cares about reload. He helps you like reload stuff, which makes sense if he's a trap ranger because he like being able to reload the traps makes a lot of sense. And then maybe Uzuri or the new Arachne cares about stealth. That would be my.
All the new Arachne is all about, because obviously they got growths and stuff like sprouting out. They just care about assembling all of the plagues.
Maybe.
They make plagues under their control, and then when they do, they win the game or something like that. To play at a constant disadvantage, but obviously when you assemble the pieces, you just automatically win.
I mean,
funny.
That would be weird, but I'd be into it. I mean,
that'd just be hilarious.
Yeah,
but like.
It's good stuff. The set's coming out like pretty soon too. Like we're speculating now, and today is the 2nd or the 4th of February, the second month. Spoilers start like a month from now. Spoilers start March 4th, which means for those of you getting spoiler cards, you're probably going to be sent your spoiler cards like in the next like couple weeks, which is like. I'm not assuming that I'm going to get one, but if I get one, I'm going to be very excited to see it.
Soon. Yeah, we haven't gotten an email yet. And again, I'm not saying that we need to, but it would be cool.
I would say content creators and people who get spoilers probably not going to get them for another week or so. That's my guess. Because they usually only give them about a week or so in advance. So I would be willing to bet about a week or so.
A week till you get the email?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So For those of you not in the know, the way it normally
just
works
have
is
to see.
you'll get an email and they'll be like, "Hey, we're gonna do spoiler season. Do you want to be a part of it?" And then you're like, "Yes." And then they're like, "Okay." And then they'll like another couple days later, like, "Here's your spoiler card. We're gonna send you a copy. Is your address correct?" Blah blah blah. And then for me, I'm like, "Same as always." Like,
Nice. Well, and they send
Yeah.
and they send you the digital asset, do they as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they send you that, I think, after you get the card.
Nice.
Because the actual physical reveal is what I always remember first. So I think it's once you have confirmed you've gotten your card or something. It usually is around that. We've always gotten ours after the physical card.
Yep.
Which I like. It makes it more special.
I usually get my card in the mail about a week before my spoiler goes live. They like put me at the front, so usually my spoiler video is like one of the first 2 days. So I usually have to like really work to get the video done in time. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. Even if they don't pick me, I'm still looking forward to it. I hope to see some awesome stuff. Can't wait to see new Assassin Legendary. You know there's going to be one for each new class, right? So big like fans of Ranger, Assassin, and Ninja, probably all going to get a sweet Legendary for the set that just doesn't have any talent or anything. I'm also wondering if we're going to get some like Pits-y like plague talent or like plague stuff like legendaries. Yeah. A lot of folks are thinking legendary Quiver. I don't see it. I don't see it unless it's like unless it's not like strong, unless it's just like weird. We could get a legendary Quiver if it's like just really weird. Like kind of like
I think it would make a lot more sense if the Quiver that we saw was like a token or like a common or something.
Yeah.
Then having that disparity makes more sense and is like more sort of you can look past that. But for majestic and legendary, I think I agree with you. It doesn't make sense to
doesn't make sense to
in there.
Doesn't make sense to power creep cards in your own set. Like in the same set. Just flat up. Unless, like I said, unless it's a really weird effect that's like, I don't know, like ghostly touch level, like a just kind of like a weird oddball thing where you like don't always run it, but maybe if like I could see something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's a Quiver that has something to do with the plagues or something. Maybe something like that.
I wonder what the fable's going to be, though. I wonder what that's going to be taken up by.
I'm so excited. This is a discussion we haven't had, but I've heard some people talk about it. Some people are like, "Oh, do we think it's going to be like a reprint, kind of like Command and Conquer?" I would bet 95% no. I think it's going to be a brand new card because it doesn't make sense for them to put like an Enlightened Strike Fable in a draft set where you could technically draft an Enlightened Strike that no one else could get. That just feels weird. Even if it is like a super rare, like 1 out of 40 boxes or whatever, it's still weird. So I suspect something brand new.
It's likely.
I still think it's going to be a landmark, but I keep thinking that, and it's never a landmark. So I don't know. I think Blackjack.
They're just specifically not doing landmarks anymore.
Yeah, they're like, we're
just
done
for you.
We're done. Corsham, last landmark. But what if it was Blackjack's Tavern and then it made contracts that anyone could take? Like just like how Corsham is like for everyone, maybe it's a landmark, like it's Blackjack's Tavern, and then like you could pay into it and like you take up a contract to do X thing, and if you do X thing, you get a draw card or something. Get some sort of effect.
Like gold or something. Like or
gold. Like money. Yeah, I have so many thoughts. Like maybe there's 3 levels of this is too much to write on a card. Like three levels of contract, and you can get gold, silver, or copper depending on which one you do.
Which one you do? Yeah.
I think that's too much to write on a landmark, but. I still think
they'll make it a fold out card.
Right. Dude, this is a little in the weeds, but one card game that I used to cover, Force of Will, actually had a fold out card. Like legit. And, it was one of their ruler cards where it has a card on one side, a card on another side, and then once you like fulfill the requirement, it opens up and becomes like a big card.
Yeah. Duel Masters has that too. They have triple-sided cards.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same sort of situation.
Yeah.
Those are always super cool to see. I think that's maybe a little bit too crazy for a Western market. But...
It was it always made me worry that the card would split, because I have copies of this card. It always made me worry that it would split, and also it's kind of thick, so it's like fits awkwardly in a sleeve, and it's just kind of it's just kind of a weird thing. It's a cool card though. It was the Time Witch. And then the big reveal was like when you open it up, you get to see who the Time Witch was, which is an old character who got lost in time, yada yada. Weird anime story, right? But it was a cool card. It was Kaguya. Spoilers. It was Kaguya the whole time.
Well, maybe we find flip cards in Outsiders. We'll see.
I don't know. But I do have my money on a location, and this is the most baseless speculation that I've given this entire podcast. It's just like, would be cool. I
just sent you guys a video of the Duel Masters triple faced cards, and it's a card that folds like a trifold wallet, or I guess a bifold wallet or whatever. I think it would be a trifold wallet.
Weird.
Where it's like it's like this, and then you unfold it once, and then the second card is on the back, and then you unfold it a third time, and then the card's like that.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna get something for the video watchers. I'm gonna go grab that weird split card. I think it's just in the binder here, because I have a binder of all of the rulers still here. So hold on.
It's another 4D experience now for the audio listeners out there. Kel's just stepped away from his desk to go and
now there's just an empty space where Kel used to be.
Oh, now he's back. Here he comes. He's putting his headset back on. There
it wasn't very far away. It wasn't very far away. So this is my binder. I'm holding up this binder of Force of Will. I used to be back in the day one of the OG Force of Will YouTubers. There's only like one that still exists. Shout out to Ruler School. I was the second biggest. But anyway, this is my binder of all of like the rulers, and I collected one of each of all of them up to a point until I stopped playing the game. But I should still have the Time Spinning Witch in here. So I'm going to try to find it and then show it off. Oh yeah, I do have it. I have 2 copies of her actually. So this card was not...
Go to the video version now.
Yeah, you couldn't get this card in booster packs because of how thick it was. So people could map that. It was only like a promo kind of deal, like a booster box. So like one side is this. She's like this Time Spinning Witch lady. And then the other side is still the Time Spinning Witch. It's really hard to see. But then you open the card.
You fold it out.
And then it becomes this bigger card. And then
that's so wild.
On the back you can still see the other 2 sides. And it's like, it's like connected, right? Yeah. It's so weird.
What was it, like laminated almost then?
It's got a foiling. It's hard to see. But it's got it's like rainbow foil.
Yeah. That's one of the things that would make that so weird, right? Like you have the foil going across the crease, and like I don't know if anybody here has ever bent a foil card before, but it doesn't like it.
It reminds me of those phones, like those weird like half phones. You know what I'm talking about? Like the phones that like open up. Yeah, like Bill's phone. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. Yeah, it feels like that.
I got a foldy phone.
Yeah. So yeah, weird thing that I've only ever seen in this game. And I guess Bill said, what was the game? Was that Kaijudo?
Duel Masters. Yeah. Which is, I think, still going on in Japan. Japanese listeners, another thing. Tell me how you feel about root beer, and let me know if Duel Masters is still a thing.
Yeah. This is a bunch of memories in this binder, man. It's so weird covering a game that doesn't routinely just mess things up, by the way, because that's what Force of Will was. Because I have, let me get one that's like safe to show. I think this is one. No, this is one of the fixed ones. So what they did is one set. So all of the rulers, which are the heroes in the game, are double-sided, right? So you have your ruler side, and then you activate them to turn them to like a J ruler to get their cool bonus abilities. For one set, they printed the wrong sides on one of them. So it'd be like one character on one side and then the wrong character on the other. Do I have? Yeah, okay, yeah. So here's this one. So this one's Shayla. She's like a mermaid, and then she turns into Scheherazade. That's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be Shayla into Shayla, and then Scheherazade into Scheherazade. But anyway,
that's so wild. I thought you were going to talk about the Cheshire Cat thing.
Oh, the booty cat.
That's the only thing that I know about Force of Will.
Booty cat. I did open up a misprint no pants booty cat. I sold it for like $250. Yep.
Booty cat. What?
Yeah, there was a version of a card called Cheshire Cat, which was like an anthropomorphized. It was like a rich lady with cat.
It was a really good card. It was basically in Magic terms, it's like a brainstorm. It's a card that like a creature that also brainstorms when you play it, that also can like come back to your hand. It was really good.
Yeah, so it was crazy, but I guess like there was a version of the art that wasn't supposed to go out, and it was like you could see under her skirt, like she was still wearing underwear, but you could see under her skirt, and it wasn't supposed to go out like that. And then they reprinted it where she's wearing tights.
So sort of. That's
sort of. I don't know. That's how I know.
That's more or less what happened. Basically, what happened is Cheshire Cat was printed like the majestic equivalent rarity in the second set, right? And then they wanted to print the full art promo version of that as like a special secret chase rare in the third set. But for the first edition printing, they took away her tights. So basically all you see is like these butt cheeks. And you see like a little bit of underwear, but it's just like ass.
Yeah.
Right? It's just you just see butt cheeks. And then they were like, oops. And then for subsequent printings, I believe, they either got rid of the card or I think they just got rid of the card entirely from it. So you only in first edition Moon Priestess Returns can you pull that card. The no pants booty cat. You can pull like the regular booty cat and the previous set, the Castle of Heaven and Two Towers. And I have like a bunch of copies of like regular booty cat. It was like a $20 to $30, $40 card at the time. People don't remember this, but Force of Will was like a big deal when it first came out. Like the first 3 sets were like huge. And then the game honestly, killed itself like multiple times.
Yeah, as it is.
Fantastic.
We're already in the weeds, but something that I do want to say just before we start to wrap this up is something that did impress me about Force of Will was just the fact that the backs of the cards were textured. I thought that was just a really neat thing.
I mean, I covered the game as like my main game for a while for a reason. I really liked the game. It was kind of like a Magic light game, but they really like got around like the mana screw and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
where
there was like a specific mana deck, basically.
Yeah, and they did it pretty well. So you had your stone deck, which can have at least 10 cards, and then you called stones with your ruler. But if you can't actually like use your ruler's ability and then also get the stones at the same time.
Yeah, so it had a really interesting version of resource, which I really appreciated. But yeah, anyway, let us now wrap this up. I think we're getting a little too gregarious, a little too rambunctious.
Oh, brilliant!
But yeah, anyway, so
for listeners, I have no idea why Az is like cracking up.
I do.
Is literally cracking up.
Is it in the Discord? Oh, yeah, it is in the Discord. Yeah. Yeah. That's the booty cat. That's the no. That's the no.
That's the booty cat. Just double cheeked up on a.
Hey man, I told you. I said it. There's just bam right there.
Yeah. We are definitely in the Arsenal step today, aren't we? Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is the Arsenal step.
The funny thing is like. The regular version is almost as bad. It's the same thing, but just imagine tights instead.
Yeah, it's just like instead of skin tone, just matte black. But you can, But anyway, so I think we have successfully Arsenal stepped our way to the end of the podcast. Yep. So let's just do our sign-offs. I was your host for today. I am Bill from the Spike Feeders, and you can find me on Twitter at BillTSF. As well as on YouTube, we make videos under Spike Feeders FAB. And if live gameplay interests you, then please feel free to check it out. And I will toss it over to Az tell the people who you are and where they can find you.
Certainly, yeah. So as from Go Again Gaming, so you can find me mainly on YouTube at Go Again Gaming and on Twitter at Go Again Gaming AZ. Yeah, very much looking forward to seeing outsiders getting spoiled. Hopefully, all of us are involved in the spoiler season, but regardless, it's going to be sick to see all the new cards come out. So, yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Hey, yeah, I mean, like, on the off chance that Alex is actually listening to this podcast and listening this far, I don't think any of us would be opposed to also getting a Living Legends spoiler on top of our own personal spoilers. So, just saying. Just saying.
It could happen. We won the Speedy Awards for Best New Podcast. So I think that qualifies us at least as our own sort of, like, we're not an LLC or anything. Like, we're not a legal entity, but, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hey, I mean, like, obviously the video versions go up on my channel, but the audio only versions are on their own separate thing on like Spotify and all that kind of stuff. And we pull in at least on average now over 600 listeners, like, per episode.
Yep.
Like, on top of, like, the video views and stuff we get, which is, like, amazing to me. Like, still, I just want to shout that out.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like, keeps going up. Like, I just checked in on it recently, and it's like over 600 average. Which is just awesome. And then we also got shout out to the couple people who commented last week, who said that they just got into Flesh and Blood and they've been binging our podcast. And that's, like, one of, like, the best compliments that I could get if someone's just like, oh, I love your stuff. I've just been binging it constantly. Because I do that for, like, other things that I find that I like. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
So shout out to those
there's
folks.
so much content from us as well. So, like, literally, if you're just discovering it as well, you know, the podcast, you can just literally go back and listen to so many hours of us just chatting about,
we got,
you know,
like,
God
30.
knows what.
This is episode 34, 35. So
Yeah.
we're getting
So if
there.
you've got a long commute or a long plane journey, or you're traveling around, you know, you got 3 or 4 podcasts of us will pretty much get you through the entire journey if you're flying anywhere in the world. So
that's true.
So, yeah,
That is
but,
true. But yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
And I'm
Over to you, mate.
I am me. I am Kel. Hello. Red Zone Rogue, YouTube, Red Zone Rogue, Twitter, Red Zone Rogue. Those are the two best places to reach me. I occasionally do Facebook and Instagram, but much rarer. I am like Sam Yang in that regard, and I bring that up because Sam finally messaged me back.
All right.
Sam is notoriously not great at responding to messages, and he will be the first to admit that. And he always apologizes, and he messaged me back, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's really busy right now, but he would like to come on the podcast at the end of the month or early next month." And I was like, "Whenever you want, man." He's still really, like, excited for it, so.
Nice.
It's going to be.
Did he do any art for Outsiders or not?
Oh, I don't know. Probably. I haven't seen any from Sam Yang yet, but I would not be surprised if we see some sweet Sam Yang art.
Yeah, definitely speak to him about that then when all the cards are out and stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like, if it's the end of the month, the beginning of next month, it'll be pretty close to spoiler season. So. Yeah, I don't know. Well, it'll be fun. It'll be really fun, and we'll talk about Outsiders specifically, especially if it's after the set has been revealed. We can probably more openly talk about, like, designing the set, because I know specifically he does some art, but he also does, like, concept art and stuff. So he probably had a big hand in, like, designing, like, the flavor of the pits and all of the little intricacies. So. Anyway,
well, he did he did the Squeakers Christmas art, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he does. He does a lot of the lore things.
Concept stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah, look forward to Sam being on later. Talk about Flesh and Blood art, which is always great. I always think the artists are very underrepresented and underappreciated. So,
definitely.
I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, so that'll wrap us up for this episode of the Living Legends podcast. Thank you, everybody who's still listening. We do appreciate you very much. Lovely old job making it this far.
Lovely old Sean!
Jason!
Jason!
Jason.
But yes, thank you so much for hanging out, and we will see you in the next episode.
Cheers.
Bye.
Oh, I love how that stuck around like Jason Sean. Brilliant.
I
Jason.
I love that Az posted that big picture of the butt and then just could not stop laughing.
Oh
Dude.
no, I just cracked up.
Dude, your face
Oh.
turned like red. I've never seen you
was.
laugh. I've never seen.
Pure beetroot.
Well, because it was awesome. Because I know that you don't have Discord up. I know that you don't have
But now-
Discord up. So like I saw Az laughing about it.
Oh, I can't.
Oh yeah, just
Ass.
just big old butt.
What?
So I saw Az laughing about it, and then I started laughing a little bit, and then he noticed and started laughing more.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Oh my god.